There you go, bud. Hi, y'all. We're back. We got another episode of Roll With Me, this time with my friend and cannabis marketing expert, Madison Fiore of Hawk Media. Madison,
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much for having
joining
me.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, this is
totally.
gonna be fun.
Absolutely. You know, now when I have business calls, the last question I ask people is, how good are you at rolling joints?
And I'm curious to hear what the answer typically is.
Well, you know, right now it's about 50-50. Some people claim to be really great with the cones.
Mhm.
And then people like you who've like, oh yeah, I've been rolling joints since I was 13. So when did you first learn to roll joints, Madison?
Definitely in college. I remember it vividly. It was like kind of this like status symbol to see like who kind of got honors to roll for the group. And, I wanted that status symbol. So I started to learn probably around 18 or 19. And I'm definitely not the best there is, but I can roll an effective one. And one of the main reasons I like to is because I like to mix a little bit of tobacco in there, which you can't buy from the dispensary like that. So, you want a spliff, you have to roll it yourself.
Man, I got introduced to the spliff when I was living in Bologna, Italy. I was the crazy girl that only wanted to smoke cannabis, and everybody else wanted to smoke a spliff with their hashish. And
Hmm.
man, that head and body high that you get from a spliff it can get you.
Yep, 100%. It's definitely a little bit of a different buzz, but yeah, I like it.
You know, one of the things that I love about your name, because I just mentioned Italy, Fiore is flower in
Yes,
Italian. And
yes. I
so we are smoking our legal cannabis flower today. I've got my white thorn rose from one of my Southern Humboldt favorites.
hmm
Yeah. So what are you smoking today?
This is some sun-grown flower. It's called acai berry gelato. I
Mm.
work with a lot of different cannabis brands, so I'm nervous to plug one and what that might have effect on the others. So I'm going to keep the name out of it, but it's going to be fun. It's something that I typically do on a, couple times a month basis, and I'm more nervous today to do it on camera than I am for most of the other things I do in my career. So we'll see how we do.
Hilarious. I love it. And I'm also smoking sun-grown flower. This white thorn rose from Huckleberry Hill Farms. When I first saw it, when it's growing, it is hot pink. And
Mm.
then when it cures, it turns into this really beautiful deep purple. Arnav, show my rolling tray so I can show off this beautiful. See how dark that is?
Wow.
I mean, it's just like almost all purple. It's insane. I
Yeah,
love it.
that is dark. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So, what OCB rolling papers you have in front of
I
you today?
I've got a little bit of everything, but I'm going with the OCB premium plus the tips. I think the tip is probably the most important part. If you're gonna roll a joint, don't do it without a tip because you're probably not going to get to the end of it, and it's something that makes the whole experience a lot better.
Yes. See, people agree, and
Yes, he's
dogs
like
agree.
he goes holler at me.
That's right. Well, now I know that you really are good at this because I have not graduated to those premium papers yet. I haven't quite got the touch. So
Mm,
I think I'm going with the OCB organic hemp today.
okay,
Um,
cool.
but I've been rolling shorties because I just
Yep.
smoke them by myself. So I've been using these 1 1/4s.
Yeah, I
Um,
prefer the short ones also. I think even if it's you or one or two people, I'd rather have two than have one that's too big.
yes, I agree because putting away a half smoked joint in a doob tube It just
Hmm.
never tastes the same. It's just,
Yeah, it's because all that tar builds up towards the tip, and so when you relight it, it's very like tarry.
yes, that is a technical term he uses
Uh-huh.
there.
Very, very.
So when you were rolling joints, what were some of the first little tips or tricks that you learned that you still use today?
Oh my goodness, there's a handful of them. I think, the first thing is just getting used to like licking something and then, using it. It's such a foreign feeling. And so realizing that you have to be pretty liberal with with the lick is important. Also, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think so many people like they give up three-quarters of the way through. It's really the last 10% is what matters, is like, rolling the bottom part over, or rolling the top part over the bottom. And as long as that is effectively done. And then a technique I learned from a good buddy of mine towards the end of college is when you bake the joint after you roll it, after you've licked it, after you've rolled it, after you've finished it, actually baking it with a lighter to kind of seal in the
Mm,
sealant, is
okay.
probably something that is the biggest pro tip and kind of the biggest difference between a good one and a great one.
I have seen people do that, but that has not been a tip somebody has shared with me on this show yet. So
Hmm.
you'll
It's
have to.
it's also kind of gets the weirdness of the lick away, right? Because now you've like kind of burnt off the germs from the lick, and so it makes you feel a little bit more comfortable sharing and passing, which is obviously a big part of cannabis and why a lot of us love it so much recreationally.
Yeah, when you go to these events and at a cannabis event, it's so fun because everybody meets outside for a smoke break,
Hmm.
and um, and now I just think about what those will look like, where we're all still standing around in a circle, but is everybody just smoking their own?
Hmm. Maybe. I hope not. I think a lot of us are getting the vaccine. I think a lot of us are confident about the vaccine. I'm curious, do you do the crutch before or after?
Well, the technique that I have learned that I've been practicing the most
Hmm.
um, is the Dutch cone roll that
Oh
I
boy.
learned from my friend Luke. And after I make a fold on the paper, then yes, I am put the crutch in first before I fill it.
Got it.
What about you?
I literally do the crutch first thing. Like
Okay.
I fold I get the paper out, I roll up the crutch, and then I
Mm-hmm.
fill the rest of it. And then obviously, like the rolling part right here is pretty integral if you're gonna get a good roll. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
kind of roll it down, tuck the corner where the crutch is, fold it over. Make sure it's not too tight because then you can't really smoke it. Nice lick, and there it is. Very simple, very easy.
Now
Not
was
horrible, not great.
now was that a straight roll that you did just or
No, just
do you
a little bit of a cone. I definitely like to cone
okay.
it a little bit. Um, but that's rule number one.
Gosh, are you just gonna like roll laps around people?
Oh, I can't.
Keep going, roll
Who
another
knows?
one.
Yeah, I'll roll it. Well, I still got the most important part, right? You still got to pack it down, and
Yes.
you can use whatever you have around here. That's typically a key or a shoelace or anything between. I like to give it a little twist,
Mhm, mhm.
and then I hope this isn't weird, but this is part of the process.
Oh,
Get it?
yeah, you deep throat it.
Yeah. And then now that it's all wet, I bake it right at the end, and so
Okay.
I actually bake the whole thing, which typically kind of gets all of the sealant, and then lightly get the tip so that it burns off the part that I rolled off.
I have seen somebody do that before. It's been a
Now
while.
and now we've got a
Oh,
lovely small little doobie.
yeah. I've got a mess over here. Normally before one of these shows, I roll like 5 practice joints.
Uh huh.
And today, I did not have a chance to roll those practice joints. So
Yep.
I am struggling a little bit. That is the thing about being good at anything. You just have to fucking practice a lot.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And that's honestly a big part of why I've been doing the same thing, marketing for so long, is because it's just one of those things that as you do more and more and more, you get better and better and better.
Yeah. I am screwing up like crazy. You know what? Marketing makes me as crazy in the cannabis space as trying to roll a good joint.
Hmm.
So, since I have you here and this has taken me a while, um, tell me tell me some of the buzz in the cannabis marketing world because, you know, people like to tell us what we should be doing, but if you
Hmm.
really look under the hood of cannabis marketing, we're so limited as to what we can do.
Yep.
So, what do you think is effective, for your clients?
Yeah, really good question. I think we always like to work backwards from goals, right? At Hawk, we like to call them key objectives. Some brands are, looking to put $1 in and try to get at least $1, if not $2 or $3 out right now. And they're trying to scale profitably because they don't have super deep pockets, right? And they need to be effective on the ways to scale. Some brands are the polar opposite. They just want every single person in the world to know and recognize their logo. They want brand awareness, they want saturation, and they want to take over, really disregarding the profitability. So it really depends on goals. With that said, I think the bud tender carries so much power right now. One of the consistent things that we hear from both our clients and brands that we talk to is that, gosh, it is so hard. I can send the perfect email or the perfect ad to the perfect customer, tell them where to get the product, send them to that dispensary, have them grab the product, and then at the last moment, the bud tender says, "Hey, this is great, but have you tried this? It's buy one, get one free. It's basically the same thing." And they lose the customer.
Mm.
So, like, it's interesting because without the bud tender, a lot of our efforts kind of fall on deaf ears. But I think that's one of the things that really sticks out to me as a big opportunity for some of those brands that are really looking to spend their most effective dollars quickly. With that said, I'm really excited about the industry at large. I'm really excited about a lot of the technology. We've got some pretty awesome technology partners like Enlighten, like Proper, like iHeartJane, and more that are really going to change the way cannabis is bought and used and consumed. And it gives us as performance marketers so much more of an opportunity than ever before to practice what we preach and actually track conversion.
So, what are some of these companies like, the one that stuck out in my mind was iHeartJane. I'm familiar
Hmm.
with Enlighten. So, are
Yep.
is this the in-store media stuff? Like, what are they doing?
Yeah. So Enlighten specifically, yes, their core business model is advertising on menus. With that said, they're also building out or have built out, excuse me, a cannabis marketing programmatic display network, right? So essentially the billboards of the internet, just like you can with just about any other product in the world. Now they have, lists of, I don't know if I want to use the word publishers, but content sites, websites that are approved to advertise cannabis on it. And so you can start to advertise, geographic location. Hey, we know this product is in this dispensary. Let's get our core demographic to that dispensary, right? Like, let's get those ads in front of those right people and have them go from there. So combining both of those, like like right at the point of sale, like with the menus, is really helpful. But then also top of funnel on awareness and retargeting, using the display networks to actually get your brand or your product or your dispensary out in front of the right people.
And so, with the rules with social media like Facebook and Instagram, where they tell
Hmm.
you this post is performing better than 75% of your other posts, would you like to
Hmm.
boost it? And I'm
Yep.
like, yeah. And then they're like, psych, can't do that.
Psych. Yep. Yep.
So, how are these other display companies, how are they able to get that stuff out?
Hmm.
And people like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram say no. Is this
Yep.
just those big giants' choice to keep us quiet? Like, what is that? What's
Yeah.
that
I
about?
mean, at the end of the day, like, Facebook is trying to be as compliant as humanly possible, right? They're driving millions of dollars a minute in advertising sales, and so the last thing they would ever want to do is compromise that. With that said, there are much, much, much smaller publishers that are not as concerned of potential repercussions, like Rolling Stone magazine, or the list goes on and on. And so they
Mhm.
have pre-approved advertising of cannabis in cannabis compliant states, and that real estate, if you will, is then sold on, through a DSP to an advertiser like myself.
Okay. All right. And that's why it's important then, if you are a small business who has a little bit of a marketing budget,
Hmm.
you got to get scrappy. But if,
Hmm.
you're starting to be a growing and moving into that medium sized small business in the cannabis space, it helps to have a marketing firm that knows how to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I think, there's, like I said at the beginning, there's different key objectives, right? If you only have, five, 10, $15,000 a month to spend on marketing, then that's going to be a very different marketing plan than a brand that has 40, 50, 100, 200 plus a month in marketing.
Well, and when you say
And
that, I'm like, having ten to $15,000 to spend
hmm
on marketing is a dream for me.
hmm yep.
And granted,
Well, there,
back in the day when I was a marketing director for big brands, I mean, I'd have $1 million advertising budget.
hmm
But now I'm like, what can I do for nothing? And you got to get scrappy, but it's
yep.
exhausting. It really is exhausting.
Yep. And I think it's really, really interesting because most of our biggest partners, right, the people that want to work with us most often are actually
Hmm.
venture companies and like family offices, private equity groups,
Hmm.
groups that want the brand to succeed, just as much as the brand does. And so they want them to have good marketing. And what's interesting is that in the last 2 months, I have heard about more brand acquisitions than I have in the last 2 years through these venture partners that I work with,
Hmm.
and they mergers and acquisitions, and the list goes on and on. And what that means is it is not, depending on your exit goal as a brand founder, it
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean you have to be profitable in year 1 and 2. What it could mean is like get brand awareness, build your customer base, and sell product. And there could be, before even profitability, there could be a good exit for you. So depending on your goal, there's a huge opportunity for people to kind of get out ahead of the competition right now when, P&G and Johnson are all going to jump in as soon as it's federally legalized.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And that's the kind of stuff that also kind of scares me about it, where I want to make sure that, small independent businesses and family farms and things like that um, have a fighting chance.
Hmm.
And, so when I get messages from publicists and whatnot, people saying, hey, we'd like to have, our CEO come and talk to you. And I look at this business and the whole C level is like, you know, 10 venture capitalists. And I'm like,
Hmm.
well, I don't know that that's really my jam.
Yep. I think there's going to be different places for this industry without a doubt. I think if you're coming into this industry with a shovel looking for gold, you're probably going to find, you're not going to find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But when you're someone like me that is in this industry and is very mission driven, right? Like I think one of the things I've learned since being at Hawk is like, you really have to have a mission in order to kind of keep that vision when times get hard.
Uh huh.
And my mission is to normalize cannabis. Like I'm very confident and comfortable saying that normalizing cannabis consumption is what I want to spend my life doing, and I want to help brands and farmers and the list goes on and on do that. And so that kind of drives me when things get hard and advertising gets shut down and performance isn't where it wants where you want it to be. Just know that you're working towards your mission, and the light at the end of the tunnel is brighter than ever. I have no doubt that this is going to be one of the most life changing industries to happen in the last 100 years. And there are a lot of those. Don't get me wrong, like the internet's pretty big. But I think this is going to be a big one, and it's going to have a huge impact both medicinally and recreationally. I think THC and CBD both have their place, and I think there's going to be other strains in between that also have their place.
Well, and it really all comes down to the education and the things that we do, really, I think, as marketers to tell a different story and to normalize it and to
Hmm.
showcase, like what I always say, the everyday ways that cannabis can improve your experience. And, not only is it um, cannabis, but even, microdosing psilocybin or, other entheogens. And so I think that mental health is actually going to be a huge reason why our industries get boosted.
Yep. One of the main reasons I love cannabis, I grew up in Las Vegas, where it is, alcoholism is very common. Um, Opioid abuse is also very common. And I just always wondered, why don't you guys just smoke some weed? Like, why are you getting drunk and getting hungover and getting abusive when you could, enjoy some cannabis and be in a good mood, enjoy the company you're around, probably enjoy your meal more, enjoy the company of your family more. I think it'll strengthen family relationships. And that's been one of the things that's really driven me, is that understanding that cannabis could be a better solution recreationally for people that like to drink a lot, medicinally for people that either have to or abuse painkillers. And that multifunctional use is just so thrilling to me, which ties to my mission.
Absolutely. I totally agree, especially when you can swap out cannabis for, whatever your other vice is. And you can still be present and even have more of a deeper connection in those moments than, when you just kind of like phase out or cross over. I call that a lot of times I'd be with my friends and they were getting drunk and I'd be like, okay, you just crossed over. You've told this story 3 times in the last 20 minutes. Let's get you a car. Time to get you home. Like, I don't want to
Yep.
listen to you repeat all night long.
Hmm.
I don't feel like I do that when I'm high.
Well, I think different people do a lot of different things when they're high. I particularly have what I think is a positive reaction to cannabis. I'm more receptive to people around me. I'm typically a better listener. I'm even more extroverted when I smoke. Whereas a lot of people get incredibly introverted, sometimes anxious, but that's the type of person that may be a better fit for CBD, right? One that's not psychoactive. Whereas someone like me, I integrate both into my lifestyle. I don't smoke weed all the time, but I definitely use it recreationally more than alcohol.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I just don't respond the same to alcohol. I mean, it's like the next morning, I feel like shit,
Yep.
and it's just, I can't be as functional as I need to be.
It's about that time you wish you could pass it, right? You wish you had someone to pass it to. You're like, here, take this. You
Yeah.
always want to you pass it after you hit it. So that's why I've been setting it down.
I know. Yeah. I have this cute little ashtray that I stole from the Sofitel in somewhere in Canada. Anyway, I gotta, Arnav, let me show off this cutie patootie. So
Wow, that's
he
pretty cool.
yeah, so it's a little kitty cat thing, and then when you put him down, his ears hold your joint.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what made you want to start this podcast?
I was trying to figure out how to get paid to be myself,
Mm,
and I had been telling other people's brand stories for the majority of my career. I'd been in sales and marketing for over 20 years, and I was like, okay, cannabis is my co-pilot, but I have to smoke or go home at lunch and come back and do my creative work. Wouldn't it be fun to live a lifestyle where I could just be out loud about who I am and do something that matters to me? And so
yeah,
I quit my job, gave away my things, moved to Bologna, Italy, took a midlife retirement, and dreamed up what it might look like to get paid to be myself. And Casually Baked was that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Following your purpose, following your mission.
Yeah. And, it's been a rough road. The last year and a half has tested my mental fortitude. And so yeah, it's things are picking back up, getting to have a sponsor like OCB Rolling Papers who's like, yeah, we just want to celebrate cannabis culture. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to roll joints with my friends. So, these are the perks of getting paid to be yourself. And I appreciate, what you're doing and that you took some time out of your day to have a smoke sesh with me.
Absolutely. It's fun to be a part of this side. Oftentimes I get so sucked into the execution and all the marketing and all the positioning that it's nice to kind of let loose.
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
And
we got a
if
we got a guest.
Oh, yay. Well, and any of you at home haven't got your OCB school supplies yet, you can go to ocbusa.com/baked and get 4 packs of OCB rolling papers and a rolling tray for only $4.99. This bundle's worth 20 bucks and it's around for a limited time. But the rolling skills and street cred you're going to earn, my friend, make this bundle priceless. Madison, I appreciate your time and all of your furry friends that joined us. Do you have any parting words for our casually baked friends?
No, this is awesome. I think just being a positive influence for the cannabis community is what I would pass along, right? Like try to make sure that if you have somebody try cannabis for the first time, that you can take it responsibly and kind of show them the ropes because we don't want someone's first experience to be a bad experience. So just please kind of keep that in consideration.
That's right. Be a highly responsible voice for the cannabis culture. I appreciate that.
Exactly.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out. I'm going to finish this and get my sound engineer high. He's had a rough day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for hanging out, Madison.
See ya.